Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Jessie Nealand, and today we're going to be doing the fifth and final video in the series for the Outsider Body Image Avatar. So if you haven't seen the first 4 videos in this series, you can go ahead and click the link below. These are going to be on the common characteristics that are so often seen among the outsider. The body image avatar that is focused on either securing the connections that they need or avoiding the disconnections that they're afraid of, such as rejection, abandonment, and humiliation. And the last characteristic that I want to share is that the outsider tends to often be seeking, subconsciously usually, permission to be and express their authentic selves. So, how this normally looks in an outsider's mind is not necessarily going to be focused on any of this. They will usually say something like, I just want to look a certain way so that I fit in, or I just want a certain kind of body so that nobody judges me or criticizes me, or that I'm able to fit in certain spaces and people will like me and earn certain kind of relationships. Like, that's what they're usually thinking about. And this makes sense because they have an unmet need for secure connection and often are living in fear of having disconnective experiences like being abandoned. So it makes total sense that they find themselves, focused on that. But the truth is that underneath that need is often a need to find who they are and then express that self to the world. So I'm going to call this like self-actualization and then also self-expression. And what happens is the outsider is so focused on securing their connections, they're so focused on other people's needs in relationship and on what other people want and feel, etc. And they're so focused on making sure that they're socially safe that they never really get a chance to look inward and figure themselves out. They're focused on what other people want and feel. So how often they don't even know, how do I feel? What do I want? Like, that is not often a question that the outsider has space for because of the fact that they're so focused on others. And that means that a lot of times there is an unmet need for self-actualization. A lifetime of focusing on what other people want from you makes it really difficult to know yourself. Trying to be what other people want or expect or whatever, make other people happy, will just sort of, kind of stamp out any of the space and skill that could be cultivated to get to know yourself. So that is where the outsider often lives. It's in a place of not even knowing who they are. And so sometimes when I ask an outsider client, like, well, what would you do for fun if you weren't trying to make other people happy, or what would you ask for in a relationship if you weren't focused on the other person's needs? They will have no idea. So, a big piece of what the outsider is trying to do is look a certain way, secure their connections, so that they can finally look inward and get to know themselves. Be what everybody wants them to be and fit in and look good, so that they can finally self-actualize and then express that self to the world. Because those are fundamental emotional needs that we all have. It's just that those are not emotional needs that are ever going to supersede the need for secure connections. So if the outsider doesn't have secure connections, they're not going to go ahead and just wave their freak flag high and be super authentic and express themselves freely in the world. They can't, because the priority is secure their connections. They're busy, So underneath this need to secure connections is the need to figure out who they are and to be that person in the world and have it witnessed. Because you cannot actually connect with people if you do not express your truth. Pretending to be what other people want from you, even if they love you, is not that satisfying. And it doesn't really land deep in us. It's not powerful. Because we know, well, I was just trying to be what you wanted, so even if you love me, like, cool. And if you don't love me, wow, I really suck, So it's a lose-lose situation for the outsider. They go around trying to be what other people want. Even if they succeed, though, they don't feel good. They're not, satisfied. They don't feel more secure. Their insecurities just keep going, and they feel like they have to keep proving to the other person that they're worth being in a relationship with, and that they have to pretend to be something else in order to do that. So it's an unfortunate situation, but a lifetime of this means that the outsider is often waiting to feel secure in order to express their truth. And unfortunately, you can't express your truth or rather, it's like the opposite order of events, is that you actually have to express your truth in order to feel secure. Because if you are not expressing your truth, no matter how many people love you, no matter how many compliments you get, you will never feel secure because it wasn't real. It wasn't intimate. It wasn't vulnerable. You have to be able to show your intimate, vulnerable self to someone, then have them receive, accept, and adore it, and then it will feel truly secure. So if you are waiting to fit in and be granted permission to show up as your full self by being what they want, you will never get there. Ever. You can't. So it's important to understand that, if you know anything about attachment theory, this makes perfect sense. Like, we, even as children, toddlers, we need to secure our attachment first, and then we get to go out and explore who we are in the world independently. So this is a normal chain of events that the outsider is showing. It is unfortunately not usually very good for them. So in their work to overcome their body image issues, a lot of times the outsider has to be willing to acknowledge that they've been waiting for permission to explore themselves, to find out who they are inside, and then to express that authenticity in the world. They've been waiting to feel secure enough to be and express their truth. And in order to get that secure enough, they've been trying to be what other people want them to be. So this is never going to work. They have to be willing to acknowledge that pattern and then start changing their approach. They have to be willing to be vulnerable first, to be authentic first, or, in bits and pieces, of course. It's easier said than done, but this is a lot of the work that the outsider will have to do to get to body neutrality, is basically learning to show up authentically in the world, finding out who they are by tuning inward and prioritizing their relationship with themselves, knowing how to connect to their feelings, figuring out how to connect to their intuition and their needs and their desires, all this rich inner life that is them, learning how to experience that, and then learning how to express it in the world. Being themselves, waving that freak flag high, whatever it is, making themselves vulnerable so that, yes, they may get more hurt, but they're also finally able to connect. So building up the skill and the resilience around rejection and abandonment, a lot of times that is a big piece of the skill too, but just courageously choosing to put themselves out there once they know who they are, not to pretend to be what other people want, not to hold themselves responsible for other people's feelings. That is the shift that has to happen for the outsider to get to a place where they're actually getting their needs met, where they finally feel secure, because anybody who connects with them is connecting with the real them, and they are fully present and embodied in their real self, their truth, their authentic inner self. So that is a huge piece. Obviously oversimplifying, jamming it all into one short video here, but that is a huge piece of body image healing work for many outsiders. So if you resonate with that, you may be an outsider. I hope you liked this series. I think I'm just gonna keep going and do videos like this for all of the body image avatars. Leave me a comment if there's one that you'd like to see next, whether you wanna see the self-objectifier or the runner next. I would love to hear from you, and thank you for watching. I'll catch you next time.